What's up, y'all? Hope you're doing well. So I actually hung out today with a buddy of mine, and we were planning on not even recording it, but I was like, let's just hit record, see what happens. So he is a mortgage lender and also does some social media, content that's really funny, and he's a great guy. I'll put a link to his follow. But Aaron and I both use the same planner, and we kind of connected on social media about it. I was like, "Oh, you use that planner?" And he's like, "That." And so we use this planner to really craft our days, our businesses, how we go about our days. And so we actually just were like, let's hop online, let's talk about it. And what do you do? How do you use it? We kind of cover all that. And so the full focus planner is what I use. It's been really helpful in organizing my life. And so hopefully if you have a planner, it'll give you some tips and thoughts. If you don't have a planner, I highly recommend their planner. It's really awesome. So hopefully enjoy this conversation, and hopefully it brings some ideas to help be the architect of your day, is the way I like to talk about it. So enjoy. I mean, I'm kind of in a place too where I overthink things, and I want it to be like perfect, and I've kind of come to a place where I've got to just start recording stuff and getting it out. Coming from where I came before, where the level is so high and so prepared. It's like you didn't ship it unless five eyes saw it, and it's going out to so many people that it's been a little bit of a hurdle for me. But anyway, so we were talking about planner, and you were talking about like daily flow stuff that you use, and someone else uses the weekend optimizer or something. So what was that? Recap that for me.
Yeah, so I mean, the full focus planner has so many different aspects to it. And the weekend optimizer is a huge part of that. And I mean, they have videos and stuff. Like, I don't know if you've gone on there and like looked at all their videos.
Yeah, I have.
When I when I first got the full focus planner, I was like a psycho about it. Like, I watched all the videos and like rewatched them, and like I remember like looking up podcasts about how to utilize it to its most efficiency. And man, I've even considered being like a full focus coach. Like, I think that would be awesome.
Dude, me too. Like, I love it. I'm passionate about it. Like, I'm like, maybe they would hire me one day.
I think, and then it just kind of boils down to like, golly, I feel like I could do that with about 5 things.
Right.
But definitely it's been a tool that I've used, since full-time ministry. And so basically I just kind of like transfer that to doing mortgages. And so with the full focus planner and the weekend optimizer, the issue for me is that my value on the weekends as a mortgage lender is just availability and picking up the phone. So I'm not trying to, and this is just me, like the other mortgage people, they might be just go-getters and trying to kill it on the weekend and, move the ball down the court. But for me, I'm like, my weekend is my weekend, and how I'm going to use my weekend is I'm going to enjoy my family, but I'm going to keep my phone on me in case someone's like, hey, I need to get pre-approved right now, or, whatever. Like, that's my value. And so I don't use the weekend optimizer because that's just how I choose to spend my weekends.
No, that's a good point. So to me, the meat and potatoes of it is just annual, quarterly, weekly, and the daily. Like the whole calendar, I never can get like your optimal daily rituals, your wind down, your ramp up. Like, it all sounds good in theory, and I've like filled them out, but like I've still lacked the, like, I guess, discipline or habit to like follow them.
Yeah.
And what was interesting, I don't know if you experienced this. So like I break this down. I've thought about doing a video about it, but like the first bit when I started using it, it was just like a budget. Like when you first started budgeting, to me, it was like, I just need to know where my time's going. Yeah, it
Yeah.
was like I wasn't even trying to accomplish like a big three. It was just like, what did I do today? And I'd write it down. And then it turned into where I was getting pretty good about writing stuff down and accomplishing them, but I would find that I would accomplish the smaller tasks below, but my big three wouldn't often get done. Did you
Mhm.
experience that?
Yeah. Yeah. I honestly the it's so funny. It's like we spend this money on this planner, but the biggest thing is the big three to me. Like it's
Yeah,
just
yeah,
writing that it's figuring out because you got all these tasks like being in real estate, you've got a million different tasks. You got to respond to emails, you got to pick up the phone and call your leads, whatever.
yeah,
Um, but it's just realizing what is the most urgent part of your day. And so that's like the biggest thing for me is like having something that's like boom, boom, boom. If I get these three down, even if I don't do the rest of it,
yeah. It's still a
I
win.
feel accomplished.
So, are you pretty good about hitting your big three now? But it's taking
Yeah, I
time,
mean,
or
what's that?
it's just like taking time, or you were always pretty good at about hitting your big three?
I was I was really before I started using the planner, I was really bad about not knowing what my three were.
Oh, okay.
So yeah, that's what I was trying to communicate. And then it was like once I had a slotted space for your big three,
Right.
then it makes you dig a little bit deeper into your task and be like, well, what is I've got a lot going on, but like, what is the most urgent and important thing that I could be doing today? So then you have
Yeah.
to choose what goes into that spot. And so
Yeah.
now it's like, yeah, sure, I could go and I don't know, think of something random. Like, yeah, I've got to rearrange my office, but that's not on my top three. But
Yeah.
before I would totally be like, it's on my list, so I'm going to do it. I'm going to rearrange my office, and then I'm like, oh crap, I forgot to follow up with so and so who wanted to buy a house tomorrow.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah, like that's pretty important. I
yeah,
find,
it's kind of important.
yeah, I will give myself a little bit of grace on the big three. If there's something that like is gonna naturally happen no matter what, like we got to go to a party, right? Like the kid parties are the thing now, you know.
Yeah,
We're in kid party
heck
phase.
yeah,
But it's gonna take like 4 or 5 hours of my day. Like I'll put that as a big three just because of the time. Like it's naturally gonna happen. We're all gonna get in the car and go to that like event. I don't have to like accomplish anything for it,
yeah,
but I'll still slot it in a big three spot because it's just then it becomes effectively like a big two. Because if 5 hours of my day is eaten up by a party, a kid's party, there's just no way to hit a big three anymore. It's become
yeah,
my big two. So that's helped me like give myself a little bit of grace for like, hey, like you already tackle a lot.
yeah,
Like this day is just not the day to win at three items, you know. So I don't know if you
yeah,
do that or you find like I think that's the hard thing about the planner, and the good and the hard is sometimes you can set your days up for failure by putting so many tasks on there that are like non-accomplishable. And then
yeah,
like I walk away from a day being like, like shoot, like I didn't do anything when really
right.
you honestly probably crushed it. But because you didn't check every single box off and you're moving stuff the next day, you're like, I didn't really win the day, you know?
Yeah. Yeah, that's honestly why I'm big on just at least having three
Yeah.
because we can all crush three. Like it doesn't
Yeah,
matter
that's
what
true.
we can all do three things. Whether it's and then I think it's being realistic, like you say, like it's being realistic about the like which three they are because there probably is something that could be on your big three, but you don't have time for it today. So don't
Mm-hmm.
put it on the list because, like you said, like you're just setting yourself up for failure. Um,
Yeah.
but I think just being able to distinguish, I got mine open right here. Your daily big three versus other tasks. Which one deserves to be in that spot?
Yeah. All right. So nerdy question. Have you tried the small one? Or are you the big one? You know what I'm talking about? The pocketbook one?
I've never even heard that one.
Here, I'll grab it. So my wife got me in last year, and I actually like them. Like they're pretty good. But I went back to the big one because I just found just didn't have enough notes. But they have this small one now.
I did not know that.
And so it's like everything's pared down. So you have a day on each page now.
Yeah.
And then your tasks, you don't really have a place for notes, and they give you like more notes in the back. But
Yeah.
like, because I found for the most part, I still only use mostly just like on the big, like the side.
Yeah.
And every once in a while, like I will fill this thing up with like real estate, notes for a deal or like a
Yeah.
contact I need to follow up or whatever. So I went back
I
to this one because
yeah.
for the most part,
I
it's
think
not much bigger to carry around for me, and it's not like I'm always on the go.
that's what I was gonna say. It's like the reason why I fell in love with the full focus planner is honestly the setup of it, because a lot of planners have the big three now.
Oh,
Um,
it's becoming a thing.
yeah, it's a whole thing.
Copycats.
But you have like all the main things for me. All the extra stuff I probably should do, and I'm sure it would add value, like the weekend optimizer.
Yeah, yeah,
Um, but the big things for me are the big three. But of course, we always have more than just three tasks. So then you
right.
got your up task, and then you can put your whole day calendar in there.
Yep.
Um, and then you've got an entire page for notes, which, like for me, in conversations, I just need a place to write down random stuff. So
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
if you look at my notes, they're not going to make sense to anybody else, but it's not for anybody else. Like I'll run mortgage payment scenarios on there, like, and it
Yeah,
just
yeah,
looks
yeah.
like scribble to anybody else, but
But it's a
it's
reference for
helpful to
that
me.
day.
Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly.
yeah.
Um, so
That's awesome, man.
the notes are a huge part of why I stuck with it, because there are like I've tried. I think I can't remember. I just remember there was like a lightning bolt on the planner, but I tried that one and the notes just weren't big enough. So I was like,
Yeah.
got to go back to full focus.
Yeah, no, it's definitely huge. I love that flat lace too. What's an interesting? Let me see if I can find a page. So I've been going back to like taking on too much for the day. Okay, this is a good example. So I'll write down like an estimate of time. So
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I guess I could do it here too. I don't use
Yeah,
this probably as much as I should,
yeah,
but then I can like estimate what that task will take, and then I can kind of bulk like, oh, these are a bunch of 5 minute like quick tasks. I'm going to knock these out from 2 to 3, and
yeah,
then and then I'll bulk those, and then the big stuff I'll be like, oh, I got to have the morning energy and time and brain for that. So,
yeah.
um, but yeah, man. So talk to me a little bit about what you are seeing being a mortgage broker. Talk to me about what you're seeing. I know we had that dip in rates. I guess it was like early December, late November. We've
Yeah.
kind of stayed there through the holidays. They're projecting potential. I think the Fed, they put out their projections, and who knows if they'll follow them, but it's like their own roadmap. And, theoretically, I was talking to Rob, our team lead, the other day, and he was saying that, they're projecting a fall drop, probably not crazy drop, but some kind of drop. What do you have any insight on as far as where your guys, I'm sure y'all are always talking and where rates could potentially go. Or you
Yeah.
could just pull that crystal ball out and,
Yeah. Yeah.
that's always
I'm
nice.
I'm always a little bit skeptical when someone knows exactly how the market's going to play out. I'm like, no,
Yeah,
you
yeah,
don't.
yeah. No, you don't.
Uh,
This is what's going to happen next. You're like, all
steer
right.
clear of those guys. No, but I mean, there is a common consensus among mortgage brokers, lenders, that we will be seeing the fives soon, and
Mm-hmm.
there are even some people that are seeing the fives. Like um, we're currently like very low sixes.
Yeah, yeah.
Um, for FHA and conventional. So
Okay.
uh, everyone is. I'd like to say everyone's predicting mid fives is probably where we're going to stabilize. That's where everything's going to kind of be even.
So,
But I mean,
yeah.
honestly, we've since the beginning of the year, we've already got to the low sixes so fast. I wouldn't be surprised if we were low fives built before long. So
Yeah.
um, everyone's really predicting that spring market is going to pick back up a good bit because of this.
Yeah, it'll be interesting. I agree because everybody's shell shocked by like 8%. They're like,
Mhm.
whoa. And then the
Yeah.
six hit, and they're like, well, that's not. And I kept telling people, like, buyers, I'm like, eight is a lot. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
Like, I'm not saying
Yeah.
that still like hurts your buying power, but like historically, it's still not like the 80s, and I
Right.
heard of 18%, like just insane.
Yeah.
So then, when it chopped to six, I'm like, yeah, like we need to be. So I'm working with some buyers right now, and we're trying to pick up some places and stuff. What I thought was interesting, you may know about this, you may not, because I don't know how much you talk to commercial and stuff. But so I did a loan on one of my investment properties, and it was a commercial loan, but their rates were like, and it was a credit union, so they obviously have some different like
Yeah.
criteria, but they were in the fives all the way through all of that, like up and down.
Yeah.
And then they bumped into the sixes. They did a minor bump into the sixes. So I actually refied a commercial property at 6% while everything was at 8.
Wow.
So I don't know if
Yeah.
like, is there any insight as to why that is, or is that just
I well, I'm not the guy for that because
okay.
we strictly do residential.
Yeah, yeah.
But I do know the commercial market is still moving down here too, and it's hard. It is difficult to find commercial properties here.
Yeah.
So I don't really know. I was in conversations this morning about it, and my buddy I got a couple of realtors that strictly do investment commercial, and they were
Yeah.
saying the same. They were saying the same thing. Like it's just moving, and it's hard to get commercial property, and
Hmm.
that hasn't slowed down at all.
Yeah, and potentially some of that is because rates aren't as affected by the volatility of the market because it's underwritten differently because it's an asset class that pays for itself.
Right.
And so, you're really underwriting it not as a home, but you're underwriting it as a business. And so
Yeah.
the volatility it's still volatile to a degree, I mean, there's risk with everything, but I think it's different. So anyway,
Yeah.
but
Talking
yeah.
about rates, I was at an open house recently, and
Hmm.
there was a guy, older guy, and he was telling me, he was like, man, these rates aren't anything. He was like, he was telling me about the 80s. He said in
Yeah.
the 80s, me and my wife, we had to go to downtown Mobile Bank. We had to spend the night 3 nights in a row outside in order to get a 12% interest rate. So you had to literally go to the bank. You had to spend the night outside, bring a blanket pillow, you and your wife spend the night outside and stay there until the bank would open up and give you a rate.
Wild. Now
Isn't that
people are just
crazy?
jumping on TikTok and getting a mortgage broker.
Yeah, literally. Now people will follow you on social media and say, "Hey, can I get an application?" And you just send them a link, and they can get pre-approved in 30 minutes.
That's wild, man. Kids don't know how good they have it these days.
Yeah, yeah,
That's awesome, man. So
it's
what
crazy.
else? So what else is happening in your business? Like, has it picked up? Did it pick up in December and kind of move back? Like it was kind of a lull in November, or was it pretty
Yeah.
steady
So
even through that 8% streak?
yeah, so business was very poor in mid-October through all the way up until Thanksgiving. Really,
Yeah,
we saw a good bump in December.
yeah,
Um,
same.
right, honestly, Thanksgiving break, and maybe that was because people were kind of slowing down from work and stuff, and they were actually able to think about it.
Hmm.
But rates were starting to go down a little bit, uh, but they were still at their peak then. And yeah, so December was big. Obviously, nothing going on during the holidays, but then when January 1 hit, it's like everybody was hearing the news, like rates are coming back down. Houses are sitting on the market a little bit longer. They're not flying off in one day. So with the combination of that like people are starting to get off the fence. And I think right now is probably the most important time for someone to buy if they are thinking about buying in this entire year, because you've got companies running incentives still like crazy. Like we started running these incentives, mortgage companies running incentives back in, September, August. If you buy with us now, we're going to waive our refinance fees. Those are still active. Those incentives to buy are still active right now, and they're going to go away. So you've got rates coming down. You've got mortgage companies offering incentives. You've got houses sitting on the market longer, so they're not raising their prices. They're even coming down on prices, and the sellers are giving concessions. You've got this like huge opportunity that will not last long.
Yeah, I agree. So I had some buyers, and we actually locked up. I mean, you're familiar with Birmingham, Crestwood North.
Yeah.
And we locked it up. It needed a renovation, but it was like good bones, and like not like a rehab in the sense of like you honestly could go in and clean it up like with just a good cleaner to come through and a little bit of elbow grease and like live in it. It wouldn't be like paint would be nice, but all that to say is we locked it up 15 below asking in Crestwood North, which is a very popular area. I was pretty excited about the deal. So 5% off was what it roughly came out to be. But I am also looking for a buyer now in Vestavia, and we're finding that the market's probably cooled off a little bit, but not as, I would say if the summer / late spring was like 100, full tilt, it's probably about 65 to 75% hot still. Like people are still, we put an offer on a house and it had 7 other offers, So like in certain price brackets, it's still just pretty hard to get a house, because it's just desirable areas of Birmingham.
Yeah.
So
that's true. First time home buyers are still struggling right now.
Yeah.
Because, anything under 300,000 here, it's still gone, within just a couple of days.
Well, I mean, that area is just really starting to get popular.
Yeah.
So, well, that's awesome, dude. Last thought, like, just, I know a lot of it was, we talked about our planner. Like, is there any last advice or thought you would want to give on a planner?
Yeah. I mean, I think pretty general advice is like, something like the full focus planner will work, but any planner will work. You just got to work it.
You got to work the plan.
The
plan will work. You work the plan.
That's exactly. I feel like
Coach Jensen.
Coach Jensen. No, I think a lot of people like hope they buy these things expecting them to like open it up and it's going to like fix your life.
Yeah.
But like it can help you.
Yeah.
But at
you
the
got
end
to
of the
create
day,
the habit.
You got to get in the habit. You got to put forth some effort. It's like with anything, and I think we just, I don't know, like I've gone through lulls with it, to be honest.
Yeah. It happens.
And,
have you read The One Thing by Keller?
Gary Keller?
Yeah.
I haven't read it, but I've heard about it a million times.
It's a great book. I would highly recommend reading it. It could really help with your business. But one of the biggest takeaways I had on it was this idea, this concept that we are disciplined people. And he just basically spends a whole chapter on saying it's a misnomer that we, in effect, can't sustain discipline. Like we can only motivate ourselves to be disciplined for so long. And ultimately, the people we see in our lives who are we would call disciplined are really actually just people who have developed really good habits over time.
Wow.
And we can only really get maybe tackle one habit a quarter. Like it's just hard. It's a very difficult process to create a habit, right? Like it's very different than being disciplined. He said you can use being disciplined as a launching pad to create a habit, but it has to become a habit. And like, I thought about it. I was like, man, out of all of the things, I was like, I have very few habits that have stuck, but the planner has been one. And it's been this like foundational piece of me becoming, launching away from the W-2 and, in real estate investing and all the stuff that I do. But it's really helped me kind of have a little bit of grace for myself, of realizing like, that discipline's a misnomer. Just work on building a habit a quarter. And that would, anybody who's interested in like the effectiveness of the amount of stuff you can get done when you craft your life around goals and then those big threes, I think you have to create a habit of it. And that's by doing it every day, for 90 days, just straight. And just, I've almost gotten to the point, like me and my wife have started doing family meetings. Like we were, wanted to always do them. We do them inconsistently. And this year, it's so important to me. This year, we started a family meeting. We've set a time, and it's like a religion to me and my wife, to where I'm like, I honestly could care less about what happens in that meeting, if it's effective or not. I just care this first year that we do it, because if we can create the habit of where it's like breathing. It's like when Friday rolls around, we're sitting on the couch talking about all of these things. I could care less if that affects my life right now, because in 5 years, it's going to change my life.
Yeah.
If we create the habit.
Yeah. That's great. So, I'm interested. What type of things do you talk about on that?
Yeah, it's cool. So we do a breakdown of marriage climate is what we call it. So we just talk about our marriage, how we're doing with each other, how we feel. How did you treat me this week? Was there any things where I was, not kind, so that made me feel this way. So then we talk about, we call it kid reviews. So we just talk about how the kids are doing, how school's with them. Amy has, obviously that's a big part of her world and her concerns. So it's a good time for her to voice, like London came back to me and talked to me about school, this thing. It's really concerning me. And then I can hear her and listen. And she knows she has a place to share that, right? And then it basically is based off of, are you familiar with Traction?
No.
I'll shoot it to you. So it's based off of Traction. It's a book. It's a business book, which I would highly recommend actually for your business.
What? I think a friend of mine actually talked to me about that recently.
Yeah, it's a good read. It's very business. It's very how to. Like it's a hard read because it's so packed with structure. But all that to say is that someone who was an EOS coach, EOS is like the operating system, they call it. He was an EOS coach, and he basically was like, hey, I'm going to try this for my family. And so he modified a few things and he's tweaked it. And there's a podcast I can shoot you that we've started to listen to. We haven't finished, but it's already given us insight into the materials and stuff. So then we basically start going through that portion of it. So we kind of try to keep it emotional, in the emotional heart realm first. And talk about where we are heart wise. And then we work into more of the mechanics of the family, like scorecard, of vision for, so scorecard is, tasks or quarterly goals that we've laid out. Where are we at on those? Like, what are our weekly objectives? The family meeting is on the scorecard. So literally, like, while we're doing the family meeting, we go to the scorecard. Do we meet today? Yes. And we put in a 1,
Yeah. So I know this because, this is so a side project. What I'm working on is a guy. He's become a really close friend of mine. We're gonna start a coffee shop together. Hopefully in the next 2 years. And he started Seeds Coffee in Birmingham, and then he started Muletown in Columbia, Tennessee. So he just moved here, and I shared my dream with him about doing that. He's actually a real estate agent now here.
Oh, okay.
And he said, okay, well, we're going to do weekly meetings, and we're going to do this scorecard thing off this book, Traction. I forgot that that's where it's from. You started talking about the scorecard, and I was like,
yeah, oh, that's weird. Yeah. So I'll shoot you the material. It's really good,
Yeah.
and it goes through more of that US form, and it's slightly modified for a family. And then
I love
it
that.
allows for like weekly, like what's our week look like, and then we could just kind of wrap it up. So I've taken that as the bones of it, and we've modified it slightly. Probably the biggest thing I think is that what I don't love about his just raw thing is it in there's an issue section which kind of does because issues can be emotional and they can kind of touch things that are hard for you, and so you kind of go back into emotional mode. So there's a little bit of flipping back and forth, but I do try to start the meeting out with some of those things. So but Aaron, this has been great, man. I really appreciate the time, and there's so much insight to learn from you, and I appreciate you
Yeah.
taking time to hang out. So
Of course, man. Thanks for talking with me. Appreciate that.
yeah, cool. Take it easy.
Cool. All right, man. Bye.
That was my fake out. Just
Okay,
FYI.
cool.
I was like, if you got another couple minutes, I actually want to talk about other stuff besides, but
I do too. I wanted to,
but I was like, if I'm actually going to use it for an interview, I was trying to keep it to pertinent stuff for our investors.
yeah,
If that makes sense. And I might have to shoot you another link because it's gonna stop this thing here in a second. So
Okay.
let me stop it, and I'll shoot you another link because I don't have Pro.